Are you a foreign trained nurse looking to come to Canada? Well, if you need information on how to transfer your nursing license from your home country to Canada, this video is for you. Welcome to Millennial Immigrant, and we are your Millennial Immigrants. My name is Chi.
My name is Chime.
And on this channel, we give you the tools to hit the ground running as new immigrants in Canada. On this episode, I, Chi, will be interviewing my husband, my boo thing, on what you need as a foreign trained nurse to transfer your license into Canada.
So I've broken down these steps into 10 simple and clear steps.
So let's get into this video. I'm a foreign trained nurse looking to transfer my license to Canada. What is the first step I need to make?
Yeah, the first step would be choose a province.
Yes.
For those who've not watched our previous videos, please pause this one, go watch the last two videos. It's in part 1 and 2 on how to choose a province.
Yes.
There's so much value in that video. In the context that we are talking about here, I would say choosing a province requires you understand how much traffic goes to that province. And the traffic determines the volume of application that goes to the nursing board. And that eats into your processing time. While you're doing that, you're also looking at job opportunities that are in those provinces for nurses. And when we talk about job opportunities, we always talk about quality job opportunities and job security. You don't just want to get a job and lose it the next week or next year. So you want to go where they are actually begging you to stay and work
and doing everything
because
in their
they
power
need
to
you,
keep you,
right? So that is very, very important there.
Step number 2.
Step 2 would be knowing the requirements for the province you've chosen. Remember, you can choose more than one province at the initial stage, but once one province has started your process, you have to complete it with that province. What I mean is, if you apply to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and let's say New Brunswick approves your process and starts before the other provinces, you have to complete it with New Brunswick. Remember, in Canada, there are 2 entry levels into nursing. The LPN, also known as Registered Practical Nurses in Ontario, and the registered nurse. For this video, we're going to be talking about the process for a registered nurse.
Yes.
If you want more information on how to become a licensed practical nurse, the LPN, just comment below. I would give you more information on that. To become a registered nurse in Canada, across the board, you need to have a bachelor's degree.
Okay, what if I don't have a bachelor's degree?
If you don't have a bachelor's degree, the option you have would be to look into the LPN process.
Okay, all right.
Okay. The next one will be language proficiency. There are some applicants that will have exemption, and that's one of the things you want to check on the provincial website. The exam you do for the immigration would be the general training. General training does not help you in this process. You need to write the academic module of the IELTS. If you're writing in English, because you're going to an English speaking province, you would need to either write the IELTS or the CELBAN, which is Canadian English Language Benchmark Assessment for Nurses. So CELBAN is administered only in Canada.
Okay.
But if you're going to a French speaking province, that's the Quebec and New Brunswick, you're writing TEF, which is Test d'Evaluation de Français. I know he butchered it.
We don't know. Okay. Keep talking.
Yeah, you want to know the required score for any of the exams that you're expected to write. The maximum score you can get, overall score, would be a band score of 9. For listening, you are required to have a minimum of 7.5. Reading, you need a minimum of 6.5. Speaking and writing, you also need a minimum of 7.0.
So if I do not hit the minimums, right? But I have a very good band score.
You mean the overall band
Yeah,
score?
I have a good overall band score. Does that mean that my application will be rejected?
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's a good question. So if you...
That's tough.
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah.
trust me, in this process, lots of people write the English exam a lot of times until they get it. It's challenging, but it's rewarding.
Okay.
So stay with me here. Okay? Don't be discouraged.
Okay.
So you write the English exam, the IELTS, and then say you get 7.5 or overall band score. But in listening, where you're required to get 7.5, you only score 7. You know? And then you also meet the band score required for reading, speaking, and writing. But just that listening, you get 7 instead of 7.5. Your application would not be considered. You have to redo the English exam. The whole point is not to be discouraged. Don't look at yourself as someone who's not proficient in English. It's just the way they try to control the volume of application they get at the time. Okay, you're already in Canada.
Yes.
The CELBAN is also tested in the 4 aspects, and there's also an overall score.
Okay.
So your listening for CELBAN, you need a 10.
Okay.
You need reading to be 8. You need speaking to be 8, and you need writing to be 7.0.
I guess it's pretty much the same with IELTS. You have to meet the minimum score for each section, even in the
Absolutely.
All right. How long is my English test valid for in this process?
Well, language proficiency results are valid for 2 years. So the moment you've written the exam, you've passed it, you want to have the ball rolling right away. So you need to send in your application because time is of the essence here.
No waiting around.
No dilly-dallying.
No dilly-dallying. I have written my English exam. I have my scores. Everything is good. What do I do next?
Step 4. Step 4 requires that you apply to NNAS.
What is NNAS?
NNAS is National Nurses Assessment Service.
Okay.
It's an affiliate of CGFNS, which, for those who are familiar with the US process, CGFNS is the main body and NNAS is an affiliate. To apply to NNAS, you need to create an online account and you need to have a credit card. Only Visa and MasterCard is accepted. Debit cards are not accepted.
Okay.
So once you have all these things, an NNAS ID number will be generated. You'll use that number to keep track of the rest of the process. Once you've created an online account, you need to submit proof of your identity. Any document you're submitting as a proof of identity, you need to make sure that you also include the NNAS ID number, because that's the way they will be able to file your document.
Okay.
So the documents that are accepted as proof of identity would be any government issued identity card or marriage certificate, even divorce documents like decree absolute, and also any legal name change.
How do they know that these documents are actually not falsified?
For the documents to be accepted, they need to be notarized.
Okay.
Some countries have notary public, some countries don't have a notary public, but every country have an official that is approved to notarize documents. So once your document has been notarized and you submit it, another document that you need to submit at this application to NNAS level would be to submit your nursing form. So it's a form you print during the process. You just complete your own portion, submit it to your institution of training, and they would complete the rest. They will enclose your transcript, your curriculum. Remember, you have to pay your institution to send this transcript.
So are you saying that I cannot send these documents on behalf of my institution?
No.
Every document has to come straight from my institution to
Absolutely.
NNAS. Okay.
The fourth document that you need will be your nursing practice or employment form. You just complete your own portion and submit it to human resources or your manager, and they would write how many hours you've been practicing when you started working with them. If you have more than one employer in the last 5 years, you will also need to send it to all those employers. Your employer will mail the documents directly from
these
the facility.
These documents have to come directly from my employer as well. All right. So enclosed in that envelope should be the total number of hours I have worked.
And your conduct.
Okay.
As a staff, where you worked as a nurse.
Okay, so they need a testimonial of my conduct.
Yes.
And they need to know how many hours I have worked. What is the minimum number of hours I need to have worked?
So you need 1,125 hours of nursing practice in the last 5 years.
Okay.
But if you've not practiced for up to 5 years, you need a minimum of 450 hours in the last 2 years. If you graduated but you just went on with further studies, you need to show proof that you've graduated in the last 3 years and you've recently completed a master's degree or some specialty training. Once you've fulfilled all of that, you need to submit the language proficiency result. Pay the testing agency to send your results to NNAS. The result cannot come directly from you, even if it's the original copy you got. Once NNAS receives all of these documents, they would generate an advisory report.
What is an advisory report?
An advisory report is basically an evaluation of your nursing education.
Okay.
And it also gives details of the background information on the school that you attended and the dates in which you attended them. It also shows proof of your license and registration and all the sources of all the credentials that you've submitted. It also gives an idea of your employment history.
Now, for those people who are in countries that don't have English as their first language, what do they need to do in terms of like their application?
If you're coming from a country that doesn't speak English or doesn't speak French, which means your nursing training was in a language that's not one of the official languages in Canada, all your certificates, all your documents have to be translated in English or French, depending on where you're going. It will be translated by NNAS themselves. For every page, it costs about $85 to translate to English or French.
$85. Now that NNAS has generated an advisory report, what is the next step? Okay.
Step 5 is communication with the nursing board that you indicated interest to register with. You have no more communication with NNAS. What you will do is you will send the advisory report to each nursing board you initially told NNAS that you would like an advisory report to be sent to. And you will also give any of those nursing board your NNAS registration number to verify that the advisory report is authentic. I would highly recommend that you request for your language test result to be sent to both NNAS and the nursing board concurrently, because the nursing board will definitely want to see a copy of that language test result. When they review all the documents, after they've received the processing fee, of course, they will determine if you need to write a competency assessment. Competency assessment is basically an evaluation of the applicant's nursing knowledge, clinical judgment and skill. So Ontario calls it IEN CAP, which is Internationally Educated Nurses Competency Assessment Program. Newfoundland and Labrador calls it CBA, Competency Based Assessment.
I think Saskatchewan calls
it SEC Assessment. Manitoba calls it CCA. British Columbia calls it NCAS. Whatever they call it, it's the same competency assessment. Once you've been approved to do the competency assessment, you would need to also complete a medical jurisprudence course. It's just a test that gives you an idea of your scope of practice and role as
legally in the province.
Legal scope of practice in each province, because your role could differ from province to province.
Step 6. How do I study for this exam then?
The good thing about that is the nursing board would give you a list of books that you should buy or you should go to your library and borrow in preparation for the competency assessment.
They already provide me with the resources I require to prepare for this exam.
They give you the list of books. You know the assessment is only administered within Canada.
Yes.
So the letter that you receive is what you will need, and any supporting document you can contact the nursing board to request for additional documents. Submit these documents to your immigration office, Canadian visa office in your country, and apply for a visa to come do your test.
So step number 7, I've completed my assessment examination. What am I expecting from the province at this point?
Based on that result, they will determine if you require supplementary education. If they identify that you had some weaknesses, maybe in mental health or maybe in psychology, whatever, they would require that you complete a course on that aspect. You could have 95%, right, in the entire exam, but maybe in mental health, for instance, you got 65 and they want you to get a little bit more than that, right?
Okay.
They would require that you complete a bridging program, which is just on mental health. So if it's more than one area that they identified those weaknesses, they will require you to do a bridging program in those areas. They're not assessing if you passed or failed. They're assessing if you have deficiencies, and they want to identify those strengths and then the weaknesses so they can actually bridge those gaps, right?
Okay.
But if you've been out of practice for more than 2 years and you also did not perform very well in this competency assessment, you may be required to do a re-entry program. The re-entry program is quite similar to the IEN bridging program. It's just different branding, and the duration of a re-entry program is longer than the IEN bridging program. Yeah.
So step 8.
Okay, once the nursing board has seen that you've completed the bridging program, they would authorize you to apply for a graduate nurse license, which is basically a temporary or an interim license. With this license, depending on the province, they may require that you have some hours under a preceptor or hours where you practice independently. After completing the part where you go under the belt of a preceptor or where you will complete nursing practice hours independently, the manager in the unit or the facility where you're practicing would send a letter basically describing how you performed with your interim license to the nursing board. And based on that appraisal, the nursing board would send you for the next step. Remember, this interim license, you can only use it in one facility in the same province that gave you the interim license.
You've been given an interim license, and you're working, for example, with St. John's Hospital, all right? You can only use that license in St. John's Hospital, and you can only use that license in New Brunswick, which is the province that issued you the interim license.
Correct.
And you're saying that for you to get to the next step, which is to write your NCLEX-RN, your manager would need to send an appraisal of your practice hours to the Board of Nursing.
Yes.
Okay. My manager has sent in my appraisal. Everything's good. What do I expect from the nursing board?
Good. The nursing board will contact you to apply for the NCLEX-RN. Remember, the interim license is only valid for 4 months. So in 4 months, you're supposed to complete this process where the manager would be confident enough to write that appraisal.
Okay.
So once they receive the appraisal, you apply to Pearson VUE to do the NCLEX-RN.
Okay.
And Pearson VUE would confirm that they've received the application, and then the nursing board will now give you confirmation, something called authorization to test. With the authorization to test, you would now go ahead and choose a date for the NCLEX-RN. Let's just go straight to it. Step 10, once you write and pass the NCLEX-RN, you will be a full licensed registered nurse. With this license now, no more restricted to work in only one province and only one facility. You can move to another province. However, because you were on an interim license to qualify to write the NCLEX-RN, if you do not pass the NCLEX-RN, your interim license will be withdrawn from you, and the nursing board will make a decision on the next step. Bottom line is, this process takes time, so you have to be patient. It requires money, and the funds that you pay are non-refundable. It requires language proficiency, and I would advise that you write your language proficiency, if you're not exempted, before you even apply to NNAS. And you must have a bachelor's degree. I wouldn't dare if I don't have a bachelor's degree to apply. I would suggest that you look for a province that doesn't have so much traffic. And my #1 province of choice right now for any foreign nurse who wants to practice in Canada would be Newfoundland and Labrador. There are lots of job opportunities and quality jobs. And if you're an immigrant who requires visa, who would also want
your permanent residence,
the employer to help them file for immigration, Newfoundland and Labrador will be an ideal place to consider.
I guess that's all the info we have for you guys today. If you have any questions, please leave them below in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, and share this content if it has been of any value to you. All right, and see you in the next one.